I've located our target. Loki and MODOK are setting up some sort of device in the center of the park. Before we engage them, we have got to get the civilians out of the area. SHIELD shuttles are waiting nearby to extricate the civilians, but we're running out of time. Help them get to the shuttles so we can safely deploy the nanovirus.
Now, I suppose 3 minutes and 30 seconds is not a lot of time when you're talking about all the civilians being eradicated if they're not evacuated that quickly. But that's a really, really lenient time limit for only 8 of them. Granted, I think the game expects you to actually fight the Frost Giants for some obscene reason, but you know that's not necessary, so we're not going to do that. Anyway, welcome to the final video, and of course this is the end game. We only have a few more missions to mop up before we fight the final boss. And this mission is directly related to the— I didn't mean to punch you, I'm sorry lady, I'm sorry. And this mission is directly related to the grand finale. After this though, we're going to go see Sif for her only other mission in this game. Because Sif does have 2 missions, even though they could easily be condensed into one. It occurs to me that I said last time that the license of the Avengers is so nebulous, and that's why everything seems so disconnected and weird and hard to get emotionally invested in. But I want to clarify that this point only matters when you factor in the game's budget. Obviously, games with a much greater budget, like say LEGO Marvel Superheroes, have a lot more time for interactions between characters, and a story that fits in multiple pieces from all of their worlds. But as big a property as Disney Infinity was, this game obviously had some budget constraints, and that led to the story feeling really disconnected and the characters not getting any unique dialogue in it. You could excuse this by saying it's a product of the way they wanted to design the game so you didn't have to play as one Avenger over the others, but that doesn't really excuse the cutscenes for being so pitiful.
Confirming all citizens have been moved to safety. I'll distract Loki while you place the nanovirus on the casket.
I can do that again if you weren't paying attention.
It's time we get down to defeating the enemy.
You must give chase. Follow his entourage and do not let them escape our grasp.
This is the last open world mission before we get down to the grand finale, because the viral infection mission is the last one as it leads directly to the final boss. We're still tracking down that Frost General for Sif here. Like I said, this mission easily could have been fit in with the other one, but they made them separate for some reason. Again, I assume because they wanted Sif to seem like an actual mission giver, and not just kind of a prop. The reason we're doing this mission with Tony instead of Thor is because Thor is going to get the final boss all to himself, and Tony hasn't gotten to fight this enemy type yet, the Frost Giant General enemy type. Thor got to fight him back when we rescued Sif, and as I demonstrated, he's one of the easiest enemies to stunlock for Thor. It only seemed fair to give Tony a shot at the same thing, so that way maybe you could actually see the enemy's attack patterns. But it's not like it's going to be much more difficult with Tony, just slightly more time-consuming. I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to get some real ending fatigue in me right here. But this is the last mission before the final one, so I think I can hold it together. It is a little weird that you can save this mission for so long and presumably do it after the main story is over, when this whole thing is resolved. I mean, they do end it on kind of a lazy cliffhanger, but that's not really a cliffhanger so much as it is an excuse to make you play more. And you don't get any extra missions or anything.
Full power to Unibeam!
Now that we've found the Frost Giant General's stronghold, we just need to bust our way in here and actually destroy the guy. I mean, capture him. We're supposed to be capturing him, but we kind of blow him up. Apparently that works fine, though, because the mission is completed when we win either way. I do think it's a little funny that we had to follow the Frost Giant General back here to find this place. With the warehouse where we fought Loki, that made sense, because it was inconspicuous underground. There is absolutely nothing inconspicuous about what is happening in this situation. Obviously there are Frost Giants here, and obviously it's a large amount of them judging by the large amount of ice. There's also the fact that you can do Sif's mission at whatever pace you want. So if you do the first mission where you chase the Frost Giant General, and then wait a long time to do the second one, The implication there is that the Frost Giant General has simply been running through the streets for several hours, wondering where he left his giant ice palace. I guess I can't make too much fun of him because apparently we couldn't spot it either. It's almost like it wasn't even here before and it appeared explicitly for the purposes of this mission. After we finish off another wave of enemies, here's the General himself with 2 buddies. We're going to try and take care of his buddies first, so that way we can focus all on the General, and you can see his attacks. Which, there aren't too many of those. He does have one unique attack that's kind of interesting, but it's more befitting of a support character than of a big enemy like he is. And you should be able to see it right here in a second. Yeah, he causes a shockwave that can freeze you, but you can break out of the ice immediately, as you just saw, to no detriment. I broke out of that ice in less than a second, literally. So I'm not really sure what the point of that attack even is, but we can also jump or fly over it. It's not like we have to, though, because as you saw, it's not a hazard. This guy is taking a lot more time to kill with Tony, but I did tell you you should expect that.
Has proven quite effective. I shall persuade the General to give us more information about Loki.
That's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, listen, Sif, not only do we know Loki's entire plan already, but you just saw me kill the Frost Giant. You can't interrogate him or talk to him. He's totally dead. He exploded. Okay, that's finally enough of that. No more of that. We have to do the final mission now, and it's not all that bad.
We will not do that again. This is it, team. Time to attach the nanovirus to the casket and protect it while power's up.
Apparently this mission was so important that we just teleported right to it instead of having to fly to it like all the others. It is the final mission. Also, we're just going to throw this through the ice instead of walk around it. So we just have to get this thing to the casket before it gets destroyed by the Frost Giants. And we do move really slow while we have it. But I think we can easily keep the guys off our back long enough. The most challenging thing about this mission is that sometimes while you're carrying this thing, you'll get hit in the ass and fall over. But the nanovirus itself is never in any real danger. It has a lot of health. And sometimes the Frost Giants apparently just disappear into thin air, as you saw. So I think that's majorly in our favor as well. For some reason I stop in the middle of this mission to visit the skill tree. But there's no real reason for me to do this because we don't need to buy any upgrades because this is the final mission. And Tony's not going to be fighting the final boss. It does help while you're carrying this thing to move in a zigzag pattern. True, it's going to be a slow zigzag pattern. But like I said before, you only have to move slightly to avoid the projectile, so this is usually enough. We're almost there.
Time's running out. Deploy the virus.
No! Insolent speck! You have merely delayed my plans. Once I put an end to your little band of misfits, the 9 realms shall be mine!
Welcome to this enormous thing, the final boss of the game, and it's a pretty standard action game boss. There's nothing really remarkable about it, but there's nothing that wrong with it either. It has 2 notable attacks where it slams its hands into the ground and makes itself vulnerable, and it breathes a bunch of icicles that explode. To dodge the icicles, we just fly into the air, and to dodge the hand, we simply move left or right. I mean, the icicles would probably be harder to avoid if we couldn't fly. After we hit its hand enough times, it becomes vulnerable to be hit directly, and we can only hit it a certain number of times before it, of course, jumps back up to continue its pattern. Before it does start its next pattern, it summons more Frost Giants, but you can all but ignore these guys. I mean, this boss is really Baby's first action game, I think. The boss telegraphs his attacks way ahead of time, They're really easy to dodge, but you do still have to be aware of which attack does what not to get hit. But I feel like this is the kind of boss I could handle even when I was really young, and I really sucked at video games back then. It's kinda weird that this boss is significantly less difficult than the one against Loki, but I think it fits better as the conclusion to the game because it sums up the game pretty well as a whole. There's nothing really remarkable about this boss fight, is there? There's nothing really remarkable or memorable about this entire experience. It's just kinda decent fun. Maybe it didn't need its own Let's Play, but fucking goddammit, I got a New Year's resolution to keep to. Plus, it's incredibly unlikely I will ever play a game this disinteresting again. Incredibly unlikely.
I suppose you're taking me back to Asgard, then?
No, brother. The damage you have caused this city will not be easily repaired. I must remain here to assist however I can.
I'll be escorting you this time. The Allfather can't wait to have words with you. Heimdall, we're ready.
You guys sense a little love connection there?
Nice work, Avengers. The city's temperatures are rising steadily with Loki's little toy out of commission. I think it's time we called...
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Frost giants are rampaging through the zoo. What are your orders?
Oh yeah, those guys. Guess Loki didn't leave them a way to get back to the North Pole.
What do you say, team? Up for a little more defrosting?
Hulk smash!
Well said, Hulk. Avengers, assemble!
you